That this Sunday afternoon at the barn is our annual holiday party for the children, and it starts at noon. So if you want to help set up, meet, greet, help with food, whatever you want, just show up at noon on Sunday at the barn and we could use your help. Okay? And if you haven't got anything better to do on Friday night, you could come out and help pack bags out at Cape at their headquarters. You can just see me after. It's going to be a great party. There's going to be about 100 kids and their families there. So now I'm going to do my thought. Is that okay? Okay, so I've been passing this around, as you know, and there's a little story that comes from this little fold scope. And Manoush Prakash was the keynote speaker at the Tri-Valley Innovation Fair this year. And he is a MacArthur Fellow, and so if those of you who know about MacArthur grants, it's a genius grant. And he is really a genius. So he designed this little paper microscope, and there's a few floating around out there. Originally as a diagnostic tool to be used in third world countries that don't have easy access to clinics and laboratories. And so he developed this so that they could quickly identify people who had malaria or leishmaniasis, and there's 2 or 3 other diseases. So that's why he did that. And then he says, but I think every kid should have one. And so they're very, very low cost, and they come in a little kit. And there's millions of them out there all over the world now, and primarily in schools that don't have microscopes. So this is a folding paper microscope. So Hal, on the next slide, this is Manu and his team, and you see that guy in the white t-shirt, the ginger hair. Some of you will recognize him. That's my son, Scott. So he did a postdoc in Manu's lab. And as a result of that, of course they went what they call fold scoping. And Scott had been studying this little critter for a couple of years, but he had never found one in the United States. They'd all been coming from other countries. Guess what he found that day using a fold scope? This is a very unique single cell organism that behaves like it has a personality. It thinks, it moves, does all kinds of things.
I've known guys like that.
Yeah. So I'm putting the A back into STEM because I want to show you this little video that Scott did using his big super duper Nikon microscope. And it's called the Cupid. You probably know this song. Alright? Alright, we're going to play it out.
Here we go. I'll show you. Hey, to the right, to the right, to the right, to the right, to the left, to the left, to the left, to the left. Walk it right. Here we go. I'll show you. To the right, to the right, to the right.
It's a new holy pokey.
To the left, to the left. $250 to the STEM Foundation of Livermore.
Remember, you saw it here, pornography at a Rotary Club with high school students present. We're going to work on tightening up these talks. See, I thought this week for the President's Graphic of the Week, I would show you, we don't do politics, but politics does us regularly. And this is the cover of this week's Economist. Did you know Great Britain is voting tomorrow to try to pick a new parliament? And I thought they caught the personalities just magnificently. Boris Johnson on the right, below him, Nigel Farage with his ever-present glass of beer creeping out of the muck below Boris Johnson. In the middle, Joe Swanson of the Liberal Democrats, and on the left, Jeremy Corbyn. Looking as sad as Jeremy Corbyn always looks. I heard a great quip about Corbyn this week, which is somebody said, he's never gotten over the fact that the wrong side won the Cold War. That was a pretty good line, actually. So we don't do politics, but politics does us every now and then. Okay, thank you for that. One sad statement to make to you this week. As you know, or you might know, Ed Coates' wife died recently, very suddenly. Ed is here with us. Thank you for coming, Ed. We know it means a lot for you to be here with us. I want you to know it means a lot for us to get to be with you too. Okay. So thank you so much for coming. We'll do more about this as time goes on. Let's start with the front line. Steve Neff is the Spur reporter today.
No, you're not. So I got a few nice comments about my sweater. I could have sworn that my calendar said that we were having a costume party today, and I decided to come dressed up as Perry Como. So anyway, sorry about that. Okay, so let's talk about, I think you might recall, for those of you that were here for my treasurer's summary back in July, that last year and in years prior, the club has spent over $4,000 in credit card fees based on the credit card transactions that we provide to all of you to make as a convenience. And we'll continue to provide that as a convenience, but it costs real money, and that's money, it's an lost opportunity cost. That money could be applied to all kinds of great purposes that you know better than I do. So we have, with Gordon Jones, where is Gordon? Right there in the back, and a small team, we have just implemented and piloted the use of Zelle, which, and there are, on each table, there's a little summary, which is exactly the slides that I'm going to use here today. This is not mandatory, but we are going to shame you into using it. Let me repeat. This is not mandatory, but we're going to shame you into using it. So, what is Zelle? Well, it's worldwide. It's electronic. Okay, don't let that bother you. It's electronic. It is zero cost, unlike credit cards. No cost. It's secure. It's a hell of a lot more secure than using your checks. Your check has the routing number of the bank and your account number, for God's sake, and your name and your address on it for all the world to see. Zelle, none of that is visible. It's instant. It goes bank to bank in near real time. It's person to person, so you can pay us, or you can pay your friend that you split lunch with. You can pay your gardener. If you run a small business, some small businesses, if they have Chase accounts, might be able to do that. Not all, because it's not set up for commerce to commerce yet. It's used by 300 banks in the U.S. It's well vetted and efficient. So why would you want to use it? I've already told you that the primary reason is to save costs. Let's avoid the use of credit cards wherever we can, and I know it's not going to be 100%, but let's save some money. It's more secure than checking. I think I already made that point. You can use it over the preferred platforms, or your smartphone, or your desktop, your laptop, whatever you want. All transactions, every single one, has full double-ended documentation. So you get a nice email, it's got a verification code. I, as the treasurer of the club, when I receive this, I get a message with a verification code. If that's not enough, you get an email or a text, your choice. And then your bank statement, when you look at it, for those of you who do look at your bank statement, and I would suggest you do that, it will be in there too. So you can use this, as I said, for other businesses. So let's, can you advance there we go. So how do I use Zelle? As I said, every table has 4 copies of this. Take the hard copy home with you. Photograph it with your phone, whatever. But here's how you do it. Find out if your bank uses Zelle. So I got to warn you, this does require to use online banking, which is a non-starter for some people, but I urge you to give it a try. Also, many credit unions, like the Lab Credit Union, I think Sandia Credit Union, they don't use it either. So that's a limitation, but a lot of banks do, and an increasing number do. Go to your online banking site and register with Zelle, and those are the steps. I'm not going to enumerate them. They're there for you to read. And then for the recipient, it's just that email address that I'm showing you there. rcoflivermore@gmail.com. And you put that in as the first, and in some banks they require it for the last name, and then send us the payment. So you can do this for anything. You could send us $100 for member credit, and then we'll use it just like we do now at the front desk. Some of you don't like to give us money for credit, like to pay as you go. That's cool. This is an easy way to do it. That's how Gordon's doing it. That's how Barbara Hickman's doing it. So I won't say anything more about it, just that there is a pilot team that has already done this. There's a small group of advocates. So Gordon Jones and I will stay here after for those of you who would like to adopt this and have any questions. In addition, both Pat and Kathy Coyle are highly expert at the practice of this. Let's see, who else has used it? Barbara Hickman has. Who are you pointing to, Kathy?
Dennis, that table.
Irv Stowers, absolutely. Anyway, so there's a group here to assist you, and we hope that you adopt this, and I think my 5 minutes is probably up. Okay, all right, it's up. Any questions before we?
Yeah.
Niall?
Why would they do this for free?
That's a great question, and Gordon may be able to help me here, but checks cost the banks a mint to do. Think of the transaction costs from birth to death.
So it's to avoid checks then?
And security problems. Security problems, think of all the fraud from credit cards. This is more secure because there's encryption and whatnot. Not that there isn't with credit cards, so that's the incentive. Great question.
Thank you.
You'll hear more about this later.
Thank you.
We will monitor your non-obligatory process. Goud.
Thank you, Jay, for giving me a few minutes so I can quickly update. Oh. I can give a quick update on what's happening on our school in India. And I'm going to breeze through it. I promise to save you some time. Now, let's see, how do I do this? Which way I go? Okay, this is the school building. This is our building, part of which we gave it for the school. It's in our village. And I gave a detailed update in 2018 about the various activities we've been doing since 2008. And since 2017, we primarily focusing on the school in our complex. And the school is called Shishu Mandir, is run by a non-profit organization that has over 1,000 schools in India. And why this organization we selected? This is known for a very, very high quality education. Besides the academics, they focus on teaching values to the children. And they only admit from a nursery and they move up to the 5th and high school. They don't take in between. So they believe in that. So we started with a nursery school 2 years ago. So we lease the building, including any improvements, free of cost to the non-profit organization to keep the fees low. We now have 145 students in nursery, lower, upper KG, and first grade, and moving on to the higher grade. Okay, so the update I'm going to focus is last September, I went to India, attended a 2-day event of competitions. Even though we only have up to first grade, we invited 18 other schools up to 8th grade, and basically had a cultural, science, and math competitions. So, and it was an amazing experience for me. So in the interest of the time, this is going to be a kind of a teaser presentation. Jay promises I can do more when I come back in April. I'm going to be there from January till April. So I'm going to run through slides on a science fair and math competition. These are the only two I'm going to show. That is assembly on the left. On the right, they all start with a prayer. And then lower left is where they do the performance of cultural. And this is another tradition where we honor the guests. Okay, so this is a science fair. I just took a sample of some of those put together, and these are all basically up to 8th grade, and it covers technology, it covers the food chain, it covers the matter, and various things. It was very impressive. It was done in 3 classrooms. Okay, so this is the main thing that I want to talk, and I was very excited about this. And all you scientists and mathematicians, keep ready, see if you can answer that question in 40 seconds. Okay, so what this is that 18 schools, of which 3 schools were representing in a math test. So three of those schools have 3 students that sit on the floor in front of a blackboard, and the person writes the question on the board, no paper, no pencil, you just have to answer in 40 seconds. Okay? And it involved a multiplication of 3 sets of numbers and multiplication of 2 equations, quadratic equations. And then you had to find the cube root of a 6-digit number. Okay. Ready? There's a student sitting there. I didn't get a picture of all of the competitions. So the one on the left is 26 times 43 times 54. Any answer? Then those equations.
It's right there.
So I was very, very impressed. I couldn't do it. I could only do the multiplication of the equations, but it took me 2 minutes. I couldn't do it in 40 seconds. So these are all at the end, the winners get the prizes. And those 2 days, 200 student guests, we fed them breakfast, lunch, dinner. And so these are some shots of the classrooms. You can see that the reason I picked that is that every student, even at the below first grade, they remember all those multiplication tables. The training that happens right from the beginning. So they have this curriculum where they really focus on brighter minds and how to go answer those. So you can see. All right. So what did we conclude? So I was very excited at the end of that, and we said, okay, we're going to make it successful. And we plan to increase about 100 students, and I got the infrastructure developed already. And what does it cost? It costs 8,000 rupees per year, which is $120 per student per year. And what's amazing is there are many families who cannot afford to pay that 8,000 rupees. And so we're going to go January 9th to April 6th. What we're doing is to encourage them. We're providing some scholarship to some of the families that they can't afford. So that's how we're building up the enrollment. So, all right, so I'm going to end this with why are we doing this thing when there are public schools and private schools? It's a long story, but briefly, public schools quality went down considerably. Private schools, all the rich people, they send their children to private school and boarding school in a nearby big cities. So in the villages, then they don't have that. So what happens to the people who can't afford to pay the tuition? So they are the ones suffering. So we cater to that. And also the way the education done by this organization is very impressive. So maybe I'll talk more of that later. So that's the reason why we are there. There are many challenges we're just working through. Okay, how did I do?
Youth Leadership Award. It's a week-long camp attended by students throughout the Bay Area. So Sarah Ansel and Gina Barba-Leonardo are here to talk a little bit about their experience and express their thanks.
Thank you, President Davis, Rotarians, and guests for listening to us and for your hospitality and kindness today. I'm Sarah Ansel, and I'm a junior at Livermore High School.
And I'm Gino Barba-Leonardo, and I'm a senior at Livermore High School. RYLA was a tremendous experience because it allowed students like Sarah and I to grow as leaders, and it made us more effective in our approach, not only to our school, but to our community as well. Surrounded by student leaders from across Northern California, we developed relationships with individuals who wanted to foster positive change within their schools and within their communities that they were a part of. One of my favorite parts of the camp were the modules that the leadership team of RYLA presented to us, and I wanted to talk to you about some of these modules. The first one was called Just Justice, and it explained the importance of diversity and social awareness and how we as leaders, it's our responsibility to pay attention to them and incorporate all kinds of students and be inclusive in anything we put on and anything we organize. The second one was called Building Relationships, and it highlighted some of the techniques of maintaining proper body language and building genuine connection with those we interact with, and most importantly, not being afraid of being who you are, which can apply to everyone, not just students. The third one was Leadership Styles, and it showed us what our strengths were, as well as what types of leaders you were. So there's 4 types of leaders, and they grouped them up by color. So be listening, you might find out which one you are. Red leaders, they're independent, they're result-oriented, and they're self-starting. Yellow leaders, they show great enthusiasm, and they're devoted to the team. Blue leaders, they seek collaboration and have strong moral consciences. And green leaders are rational, and they're thoughtful in times of crisis. The fourth module was Health and Wellness, which talked about how important it is to achieve mindfulness in times of crisis. And it also laid out ways we can create personal stress plans. And as students and adults, we all get stressed, and so it's important to know how we can handle that and how we can use that stress and harness it into an energy and make us more productive. The next one was called Lifetime, and it brought to light that as leaders, it's okay to fail, right? Who in here is afraid of failing? Raise your hand. Right? But it's okay. It's okay because when you fail, you learn, right? And when you approach that same opportunity in the future, you learn from it and you'll overcome it and be successful. We use our failures as opportunities for future reference, and it raised the importance about how, as leaders, it's our responsibility to create a safe and exciting environment to work in. The next one and the last one is called Network and Net Worth, which taught us that as leaders and as students and as human beings, we have value. All people have value. And we as the leaders, we are a vital factor in allowing the shy students and the quiet students to know their value and their importance and the role that they have in the schools and communities. And it's important to establish those meaningful connections with those students and make them feel valuable, because they are valuable. They're unique assets to our team. I can confidently say that after attending RYLA, I'm a more polished leader, and I am in the works as well as Sarah. We're making a long-lasting impact at Livermore High School, and we're excited to do so. It strengthened the passion I have for effectively leading others and blazing a trail for my peers. We thank you for believing in us and sponsoring us in this journey and allowing us to attend a life-changing camp that is Camp RYLA. We could not have done it without your support.
So I wanted to share kind of my appreciation for this experience. I wanted to tell kind of my story and how I felt. You don't have to change this slide yet. It's okay. That was my best friend from RYLA. And I wanted to explain why it means so much to me. Before I went to RYLA, I was in a difficult place. I was really focused on school and being perfect in academics and in all my extracurriculars and as a leader. And I was trying to achieve an unrealistic idea of perfection. I was trying to be perfect. I didn't think I could make mistakes. And so when I was told about RYLA, I was kind of in disbelief. I was the only sophomore that was chosen to go, and I was among 3 amazing students that I looked up to my entire life. And I really respected them, and I didn't think that I had the worth and the value and the potential that they did. I didn't understand why I got chosen to go. I believe that helping others is my purpose, and that's what I was working so hard to do. But while I was spending time taking care of others, I neglected to take care of myself. I didn't get enough sleep, and I beat myself up over every mistake. And I found myself kind of alone, kind of depressed, and I didn't even notice. And I had all this ambition and stuff that I wanted to achieve, but I was stuck. And that's why RYLA means so much to me, is because it changed my life. It 100% saved me from the mindset I was in and from the negative like spiral that I put myself in. One evening, the first evening at RYLA, on the first day, the director of the camp explained to us this word that embodies it. It's called metanoia, and that means a transformative change of heart. RYLA is about not just teaching you things, those are valuable lessons that I use every day, but also changing your heart and your mindset and like how you see the world and other people. They asked us to breathe in and out and to recognize like one word of something that we wanted to achieve, and like to gain from the experience. And the word that summed up what I wanted and what I was lacking was love. And I know it sounds cheesy, but I kind of isolated myself from my friends and my family and the people that were important to me, and I didn't have love in my life anymore. And as a leader, you can't lead alone. You can't be alone. You have to make connections with other people, and you can't live your life alone either. And so that's what I mean when I say that RYLA saved me. It taught me so much. A majority of what I learned from RYLA comes from what makes it special and unique and irreplaceable. It's the people there. Somehow, amongst a miscellaneous group of strangers, I found the most genuine place of love and compassion. It was exactly what I needed. Because of the world I grew up in, I used to see some people as above others. And it wasn't purposely, but the biases that are layered into how we're taught to see the world make us think that because of the way you dress and the way you talk and the way you act and who you talk to, some people are above other people. But at RYLA, I learned from my cabin mates and my best friends and my family there, they call it family, that yeah, strangers can be family. I learned to love others and to see students from different backgrounds unconditionally, to look at a person beyond superficial constructs. At RYLA, I learned, as symbolized by our yellow sweatshirts, to see the light that shines within every person, to see the beauty and strength and capability that lies within all people. It's more than just how you look and how you act. Everybody inside has a light, and everybody at RYLA wears yellow shirts and yellow sweaters so we can see the light in each other. As I was driving home with my parents coming back from RYLA, I was in tears because all of a sudden I could see the light in everyday people. Like I was driving down the street and I can see the light in everybody around me. And that's such an amazing experience, you just can't get anywhere else. Learning this lesson and being able to see the light in other people made me a better person and a better leader. Because I know now that all the people I work with and work for and serve in my life have lights within them and deserve to be treated as family should be, with love and pride and dedication and respect. I learned at RYLA how to look at others with open eyes and open hearts, and how to listen truly and to pay attention to who people truly are. I learned to have meaningful, personal conversations with others in a way I never could have had before. I found confidence in myself that I didn't have. While I learned to see the light and value in others, I also learned to see the light and value in myself. Before RYLA, I couldn't call myself beautiful. I couldn't say I was strong, or that I was confident, or that I was valuable. I didn't see my worth. And at RYLA, I was able to say that to myself. I was able to say that to myself every day since RYLA, that I'm beautiful and strong and confident, that I'm a capable leader and a follower and a friend and a listener, that I'm valuable and that I'm loved and that I belong. And that is the word that emerged into my life because of RYLA. It was love. And it sounds cheesy, but the word that I had centered on in my first hours of RYLA came to encompass everything that it means to me. That's why I'm here, is because I'm so thankful, because you saved my life and you brought love into my life. And once you can see the light in others and yourself, a love for others and yourself comes naturally. Whereas before RYLA, I felt alone and upset. In a mere 6 days, my life was filled with light and love. And I can never go back to that place. I learned lifelong skills, leadership skills like Gino talked about, but also like personal skills and real skills from the people there and the conversations that I had in the environment that existed. I returned to my school and my community as a confident and ready leader. I have vastly improved my ability to listen to and understand other people. I've been able to have truly meaningful discussions with my peers. I've begun realizing when I judge others superficially, and now I stop and take the time to see the light and value in them instead. I respect other people's paths and learn from them instead of harboring jealousy and anger at myself. I try to utilize all the traits of a good leader that we learned. Red, blue, yellow, and green. All those traits encompass a good leader, and we need to utilize all of those to help other people. And RYLA gave me all the tools to achieve what I wanted to achieve when I grew up, and to help people and to be a truly impactful leader. It is for all these reasons that RYLA is an invaluable experience. In a different way, each person that went to RYLA experienced their own form of metanoia, their own transformative change of heart. You have done, the four of us that you sponsored, a great service, and we sincerely hope that you'll continue to sponsor students in the future. Thank you.
From Granada High School. And so please welcome up William Taggett, Regina Molatoris, did I say that correct? Maybe not. Mason Wolf, Daphne Yan, and Alea Rashis. I may have not done that well. You can correct me. Please come forward and share with us why how you're making such a strong difference in our community. And one quick shout out for them. You'll understand why, but this group of students will be recipients for the Innovation Tri-Valley Dreammaker and Risk Taker Award for the Livermore Joint Unified School District because they took a risk to stand up against vaping and are dreaming big for a vaping-free environment. So I'll leave it to them.
Thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Will Tagger. I'm the president of the Granada High School Pure Health Educators, and today we're going to talk to you guys about vaping.
So as Will said, we are the Pure Health Educators, and our job is basically going around different schools, going to school board meetings, going to city council meetings, and going to pretty much different events to basically talk about the dangers of vaping, and specifically in the teen community. So what is vape? Vape is pretty much like an e-cigarette. There's many different types of vapes. There's mods, which are like the older versions of e-cigarettes. And then here they have like newer versions of cigarettes that are more common with teens. So here we have a few examples.
So here's the mod. So this is the one at the top left, and
then we have more examples here. So this is like the Fix, the Puff. There are a bunch of pretty much newer and more modern examples of e-cigarettes that are used today in schools by students. And they're used because they're more sleek design. They're more effective at getting students that like hit of nicotine. And they're a lot easier to conceal and hide from administrative staff.
So there's a theory that the chemical called vitamin E acetate that is found in the e-cigarettes are likely the culprit of vaping cases. So what is vitamin E acetate? It is basically an addictive, and it's similar to nicotine, and it's also sticky, so it's similar to tar that is a product of cigarettes. So the reason that researchers think vitamin E acetate is the reason for diseases is because most of the vaping devices that are found from people dead, which is 40 deaths, is most of the so the chemical vitamin E acetate is the most that is found in these vaping devices. So, and there's also a new disease called EVALI, which is e-cigarette or vaping product use associated lung injury, which is supposed to cause 40 deaths and 2,051 people ill.
So by now you might be wondering, what is really the big deal about vape? Because the word vape sounds like it's in water vapor, so people think it's just water vapor. So this is water. It's perfectly safe, it's in all of us, and if I spray it in my mouth, that's totally fine, right? So a lot of people think that vape is harmless because it is just water vapor, which I just sprayed in my mouth.
But that is actually not the case. Vaping devices are usually an aerosol, which, sorry, that's the same slide, yeah. It's usually an aerosol, which is like hairspray, which is a myriad of chemicals in a pressurized can or container. So this is hairspray, and it's clearly very dangerous. You don't want to ingest it in any way because it's toxic. What if I sprayed it in my mouth? Obviously I wouldn't, because it's poisonous. So the main problem with the lack of education on vaping devices is most people think that vapes are just this, which is completely safe, when in actuality it is this.
So as you can see, there are a lot of different vaping chemicals. There are 4 big ones. One is formaldehyde, and that is used to embody dead people. The other one is lead, which has been said that it can lead to brain disease. The other one is acetone, which is found in nail polish remover. And then the 4th one is rubidium, and it is the purple that is found in fireworks.
So right now, there is a growing increase in the number of cases with marijuana-related vaping. And so in the top right, you can see this is the vaping device used to vape marijuana. And so this system is different than the traditional vaping because it has THC infused in it, which is the active part of marijuana. And so that gives you the high effect. And so going into the scientific reasons behind it, the THC basically goes into your brain, and then imagine there's floodgates with dopamine behind it, which is the good feeling that you get. And so the THC pretty much just destroys those floodgates, and the dopamine just rushes out through your brain and all throughout your body. And so back when marijuana was in the early forms of marijuana, when it was still a leaf and they were being rolled up into blunts and being smoked, the concentration of that was low. It was around 3%. But since science and technology has grown, and it's companies have gotten smarter and they've learned how to oh, kids really like this, we want it to have them more of a high effect and get more addicted to it. So as you can see by the graph, the concentration of it has grown so high, so now it's around 85%. And so that was actually in 2014, so by now it's probably gotten a lot higher. And so the concentration of it has gotten so much higher, it's crazy.
So there's 2 different types of nicotine. There's salt-based nicotine, which is found in the newer e-cigarettes, and then there's free-based nicotine, which is found in the older, more or less unused mods. So in salt-based nicotine, there's a set amount of nicotine in a pod, which is not made to be refilled. While in free-based nicotine, there's a varying amount because it's free-based, so there could be as little as 0 milligrams nicotine to up to 36. We aren't really sure because it's free-based. And those are made for refillable tanks. Most students in high school are primarily using salt-based nicotine.
So, as said before, nicotine is the addictive chemical that is found in most of the vaping devices, and they're meant to hook teens to these vaping devices. So just to show, this is a nicotine equivalence chart that shows the pack of cigarettes, which has nicotine in them, and the equivalence to what vaping device it is. So as you can see, a pack of cigarette is 20 cigarettes, a Juul pod is equivalent to 1 pack of cigarette, a Fix pod, which is equivalent to 2 packs of cigarettes, which is, if you think about it, it's 40 cigarettes, and a Sorin pod has the amount of nicotine that is in 3 packs of cigarettes, which is 60 cigarettes. And according to researchers, it is known that by the time you finish one of these cartridges, you're most likely to be addicted to these.
So another primary thing that really attracts the kids in the first place is the flavors of these pods. For example, this Fix pod right here, this Juul right here, it comes with the device itself, and then it comes with a pod. So I'm guessing that this pod is most likely flavored because that is the part that is really attractive to kids, which is why the program over there is called Flavors Addict Kids, because it really does. So guess how many flavors there are total so far in vaping devices?
7.
Hundreds? Thousands?
7.
Okay. So there's actually 15,500 different types of flavors. Some of the most common ones and the ones that come to mind quick are flavors such as mango, strawberry, watermelon, fruity flavors, or flavors like mint is really popular as well. But as you can see, there are some really crazy flavors. There's root beer float, there's nacho cheese, there is dragon's blood cheesecake cream, which I don't even know what that is. So by coming up with these catchy and flavorful e-juices and pods, these companies are more better able to attract the students, well, attract people, especially teens, into using these devices.
Okay, so while vaping isn't directly marketed towards teens, teens are the largest majority of people who use it. And so we're going to talk a little bit about like how teens use it and all the stuff relating to teens vaping. So this is actually a video, so I don't think it would work, but it's about a teen. He's 17 years old, and he vaped for, I believe it was 3 or 4 years. And so he started vaping when it first became popular, and so he was vaping, he thought it was cool, and so he ended up getting a lung infection, and that lung infection turned into a really bad case, and he was hospitalized, he was put in the ICU, and he nearly died from it. And so there's pictures on there where his skin was really yellow, he looked like he wanted to die when he was laying in the hospital bed. And so it just shows how bad vaping really is and how like teens don't really understand how bad vaping is for you, because it can lead to very like serious medical consequences. So how do teens get it? Like people aren't directly like handing them out to kids on the street. Like people aren't like, oh hey, do you want a Juul? Do you want a fix? They want to be sneaky, and kids are also sneaky. And so the most popular way that I see, and I'm pretty sure everyone else sees, is through stories. And so on social media websites such as Instagram and Snapchat, there's little stories. So these are like little posts that disappear after 24 hours. And so myself, I've seen it a couple times where people have been advertising like, oh, I got 2 Juuls for sale, hit me up for the price. And so that is one popular way where kids can sell it. And so it's just student to student through a third-party app. And then another way is through websites. And so my friend, he's not here today, but he was doing research for a paper that he was writing in English, and this was on like the school Wi-Fi, and a vaping ad popped up, and it was like, oh, Juul, and then it had a picture, and it was like trying to entice kids to buy it. And so if he was a different kind of kid and he wanted to try it out, he could have clicked on the banner, and that would have taken him to the website, and then there he could have used his parents' credit card information, because he could have grabbed the credit card, or he could have used his own if he had one, and then he could have entered it in, and then he could have bought one. And so 94% of the time this is successful, and usually, just so that companies don't get in really big trouble, they have a little banner that pops up, and it's like, oh, click here if you're 21. And kids don't really think about it, they just click it, and they're like, I want the Juul, or I want whatever it is. And so 94% of the time, website sales are successful. And then the third way is Amazon lockers. And so Amazon, everyone knows it, so people can buy vaping devices off of there. And so usually like you get an email when it's sent, and like the item you ordered is sent. And so in order to prevent that, teens could use gift cards. And so they could just get an Amazon gift card, enter that information in, and then they can buy the vaping device. And so then it would prevent their parents from getting notified about it. And then they just ship it to an Amazon locker. So I know there's one in Safeway over by like Starbucks and not Pete's Coffee, Noah's Bagels. And so there's an Amazon locker in there. And so they could just send it there, and then they just ride down there and grab it. And so then their parents would never know, and they have the vaping device. And then the final way is local shops. And so everyone wants to believe that the shops that sell these products are like good. They don't want to sell it to kids, and they don't. But that's not exactly true. So recently, the Livermore Police Department did a sting where they had youth go in and try to buy vaping devices in Livermore, and half of the shops sold it to them. And so there is a way for teens to get it, and so like these are all ways that teens can get it.
So we know how teens are easily gaining access to these vaping devices. How do they get it into school? It's actually not as hard as you think. So some spots that people don't even recognize are in your water bottle. So if you have a hydro flask, you can easily stick it in your sipping part, so you can just take a puff. And you can just, so as you see in this picture, this is just a normal guy wearing a normal sweatshirt. But if you look closer, it's actually a vaping device that is attached to a string. So these are easily found found online. Others are necklaces, so you can just stick it into. People might just think they're jewels and part of necklaces. They won't really notice it because it blends in with the necklace. And another one is in your bras, so people won't really find it, and it's not really easy. So it's actually not really hard, and you can just pass devices. So when the teacher is facing the board or something like that, looking in their laptop, you can just pass devices within students. So it's not really hard to stick it into school.
Okay, so when a teenager is caught in class, probably vaping, they're not gonna just flat out say that they're vaping. Like Will said, teenagers are secret, they find little ways to disguise what they're doing. And some common excuses are a wallet, like they say it's a wallet, but it's actually like a Soren. And then this also can be said as a credit card because it looks exactly like it's in the same shape, same size, same form. Another one is a portable charger. This can be a vape pen. Sorry, not a vape pen, sorry. I messed up. This is, it looks exactly like a portable charger, like the end that you stick in the cord, right? And then another one is a flash drive, which can be used as, a jewel can be said as a flash drive. And then the most common one, and even I see this every day in my classes, is a kid will get up and say, I want to use the restroom or the bathroom. But instead of actually going to use the bathroom, they're actually going to vape. So these kids are using all these excuses just to get away from it, and they're just going to vape instead of saying what these actually are. Okay, so there's a lot of ways of hiding the smoke. A big one is dissipate, zeroing. It's when a kid will take a puff and hold it in their mouth or their lungs, so they won't breathe. They'll just hold it inside and let it dissolve slowly. And then another one is the sweatshirt method. It's what they'll do is, so they'll take a puff, put their sweatshirt above their mouth, and just breathe through their jacket, because the smoke is just gonna exhale, it's gonna make your jacket a little bigger, and it's just gonna slowly come out. So they're not gonna look weird or anything. It just looks like, whoo. And then some signs of use are so Belle, and she's in the classroom, and she smells a different smell, like an unnatural fruity smell. That's not natural. No kid really likes fruit that much. So you're gonna know there's something up. So that's one of the big ways that you know if a kid is using it. And then also you have the smell of marijuana. I think everyone knows what the smell of marijuana is. So that's a really big one too. And then also, when a kid, nosebleeds and thirst are very common amongst teenagers. But if a kid continuously gets nosebleeds, that could be a sign that they're vaping too much and they got too much nicotine. And then also if they're really thirsty, because it's like dry mouth and everything. So these are just some signs that a kid is vaping an extreme amount.
So there's some common terms that teens might use when talking about vaping. They're just gonna be like, oh hey, I'm vaping, and they just have the one term. They want to make it fancy, make it cool. And so one term would be zero it. So like Gina said, just getting the smoke to go away. Nic sick is when kids actually get sick from all the nicotine that they've ingested. And so I know at Granada, there's been a couple times where kids have gone to the office and they've been throwing up because they've gotten so much nicotine because of all of the vaping that they've done. Take a hit is just using the vaping device. Buzz is the high feeling that you feel when you're using the vaping devices from the nicotine. Pods is the pods that are used to plug into the vaping devices. Cloud is the smoke cloud. Juice is the e-juice that's used in refillable cartridges. And so Mason touched on that a little bit earlier with the salt-based versus free-based nicotine. And so the e-juice would be used as the free-based nicotine system. Burn is, so this one's actually pretty interesting. So inside the vaping devices, there's a little coil that heats up. And so the burn, when kids are talking about burn, parts of the metal coil break off and it gives the user like a burnt taste in their mouth. And so when they mention burnt, they could be talking about that. Toke, that's referring to using marijuana vaping systems. So is wax pens and dab. And then sesh is like a vaping session. So like, oh hey, I just had a really good sesh, went through like a pod. And so that would be an example of using sesh. And so here are also some things to remember about vaping.
So actually, if the Wi-Fi works here, then the videos will play?
No.
There's no Wi-Fi, so the videos won't play?
Skip that.
Okay. So are there any questions? Go ahead, yeah.
How much does it cost to buy these items? I mean, is it the same as a pack of cigarettes? Is it more?
So the vaping systems, it depends on what system you get. But the average starter pack for a Juul, so that's this system, it comes with this bottom part and then it comes with the pods too. And so that, it costs around $50, so it's not entirely cost prohibitive for teens to get it. And so it's, like cost-wise, it's pretty easy for them to get it.
Yeah.
Me? Okay. Our youngest grandson just started Granada after being homeschooled all of his school life. And I'm wondering, what kind of interaction do you have with students coming into Granada, and what kind of reaction you've had?
Do you mean like how is it for new students coming into Granada? Like the experience?
No, I mean, how are you interacting with students, whether they're new or sophomores or whatever? How do you interact with your fellow students on this subject, and what kind of reaction do you get?
So I think currently in our schools, because there are lots of groups of people who use vaping devices and the groups of people who don't, we try our best as leaders and as a part of the health club, we try our best to encourage students or remind students not to vape. We constantly hang up flyers advertising our club. During Red Ribbon Week, we will we will hang up red ribbons with anti-drug and vaping messages on them. So while we might not specifically come into interaction with every one of them, I think it's pretty fair to say we try our best to steer them on the right path towards a drug-free and happy high school life.
Terrific.
Yeah.
What's the consequence if you're found vaping at school? Are they expelled automatically? What's the school stance on this? I'm amazed they're allowed to do it.
So,
So the students educated, I'll use my teacher, the students have educated us in the same way that they're educating you. And so actually that's one of the reasons why these students they've taken such a strong stance. So they have gone on a circuit of educating parents and educating our parent leaders, educating our staff, educating our school board, educating as many people as they can, including the city council. And so, because what we realize is this isn't just a small fad that you can just stop, because once students are addicted, even if they want to stop, they physically can't. So what the school did originally, when it first started, we did what we usually do, is we have no tobacco rules and we started to suspend. But then we realized if you suspend a student, then they go home and vape without anyone there, right? So that doesn't really work. So now in lieu of suspension, we require them in partnership with the city and Horizons to go to counseling with their parent or whoever is there, and then they have to go through a session in order the goal is to get them to make the right choice and to stop the addiction. So we had to change our frame. But when you say allowed, it's not allowed, but as you can see, there's thousands of ways to get around it. We actually have 3 now federal grants that we've applied for to ask for help, and in our education and awareness, and our parent group. This parent group is amazing to let parents know, because they have no idea their own kids are doing it. Because we don't give them the money, right? And we don't sell it at school, but it comes in. And then on top of that, they went to the city council, and I'm so fortunate, I don't know if Mark Roberts is still here, but they have passed an ordinance, the second city in the nation to pass an ordinance and I see Trish Monroe, she was part of this, because they did target teens. And they continue to target teens because they can addict the next generation and put it in their pocketbooks. So these students took that on, and the city and intergovernmental, LARPD, we passed a joint resolution, and that went on, and then our city passed one of the strongest ordinances in the nation. So much so that Jewel came in with their signature gatherers and tried to pass a referendum against it. And our students stood so strong that Jewel backed away and ran away.
All right.
The reason why they're here, I don't like to take them from her because they're so wonderful. The reason why they're here is so that you have an awareness, but also it is a social problem. It's not something that Livermore created. What it is that we're bringing it, we're voicing it. We're not hiding it. We're saying it is a problem and we can't tackle it alone. Last night, I'm also very proud to say our school board, Emily's here today, 5-0, we are now part of a class action litigation suit against Jewel Labs because they came at us, so we're going back at them. And then also a federal lawsuit. So again, these students they started it and they are the leaders that took the risk, and I'm so proud of them because we honestly didn't even know how bad it could be.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate that a lot of kids come in. I think they got wildly excited at one end of the program and terrified at the other end.
I'm sorry, I'm going to do this.
One last question, okay.
It's not a question, it's a statement. I believe that the Alameda County Supervisors on Tuesday night is going to be taking this up for Alameda County. I was just trying to check and make sure, but I believe that that's the case. I can't be there, but if you guys, want to go to that meeting, Tuesday night, the 17th of December, for Alameda County, taking action on this.
Great.
Sorry
All right.
about that.
Yeah, that's fine. A couple of things to finish up. Marcus, we have collected $616 for your daughter.
Thank you so much.
There are two ways to go with this. You can match this when you set up the 529 account, or you can go to the casino and try to double it.
Don't go to the casino.
That's the report we hope to get. Okay, congratulations again. Gino, could I have you draw a ticket? I know you didn't buy one, so you can draw a ticket. And then give me the last three numbers. Boy, that's better than my numbers do. Okay, and the last three numbers are? 508. 508.